Sundari Collective conducted xenobiological research far from political complications. David Park had been here 4 months as human volunteer in the interspecies pharmaceutical trials. Prestigious work, excellent pay, comfortable accommodations. His primary caretaker was Nurse Sylvith, a young Sundari whose long ears and nervous efficiency had become familiar during daily check-ins. Today should have been routine. Another controlled dose of compound J17, a neural stabilizer showing promise in human trials. David settled into the medical chair while Sylvith prepared the injection, her movements usually precise but today distracted. Her hands shook slightly. "You okay?" David asked. "Fine, everything's fine," but her voice lacked conviction. The injection went smoothly. Sylvith logged the dose. David felt familiar cool sensation spreading from the injection site. Standard procedure. Then Sylvith's datapad slipped from nerveless fingers, clattering to the floor. The screen displayed information that made her freeze in obvious horror. Wrong compound. Wrong dose. She hadn't injected J17. She'd injected something else entirely. Sylvith's training should have kicked in, emergency protocols, medical team, counteragent procedures. Her hand moved toward the comm panel, then stopped. She looked at David, conflict written across her features, and made a decision. She locked the door. Medical bay doors weren't supposed to lock from inside. It violated safety protocols. But Sylvith overrode the system with codes David didn't know she possessed. She turned to face him, crystalline eyes wide with terror and wonder. "No one must find out," she whispered. David's pulse spiked. Wrong medication meant potentially catastrophic reaction. "What did you give me? What's going to happen?" Sylvith approached slowly, scanner already running diagnostics. Compound X9. Not approved for trials. Not even fully understood. We synthesized it 6 months ago from samples collected from the Koreth barrier region, a spatial anomaly where 3-dimensional frequencies intersect. She was speaking too fast, technical details tumbling out. David forced focus through rising panic. "What does it do?" "We don't know. Initial tests on simple organisms showed cellular enhancement, increased efficiency, accelerated healing, adaptive mutations. But complex organisms..." She trailed off, scanner readings making her ears flatten in distress. Complex organisms died horribly, or transformed into something unrecognizable, or simply vanished. Remarkably calm considering he might dissolve, David asked. "So why lock the door? Why not get help?" Sylvith met his eyes. "Because you're not dying, you're changing. Your readings are impossible. Cellular structure reorganizing, neural pathways multiplying, genetic markers shifting in ways that shouldn't be survivable. But you're not in distress. You're adapting." David felt it now, sensation like electricity through his veins, every cell waking from sleep. Not painful, invigorating, almost euphoric. His vision sharpened, colors becoming more vivid. He could hear Sylvith's rapid heartbeat. Could smell the medical bay's antiseptic and beneath it, Sundari biochemistry. "This is impossible," Sylvith breathed. "Human biology shouldn't be compatible with X9. Every other species showed immediate rejection. But you're integrating it like your cells were designed for this." Dawning realization. "That's why I locked the door. If the Research Council learns about this, they'll dissect you trying to understand. If collective leadership finds out, they'll weaponize it. And if other species discover humans can bond with dimensional compounds." She didn't finish. David understood. He was no longer just a volunteer. He was potentially the key to unprecedented abilities, first step toward something new. Also evidence of catastrophic protocol violation that could end Sylvith's career, or worse. "So what do we do?" David's voice sounded different, resonating with undertones that weren't there before. Sylvith made another decision compounding the first. "We hide it. Monitor you privately, document everything, tell no one. Not until we understand what you're becoming. Not until we know if this is miracle or catastrophe." They established secret protocol. David continued normal trials, but Sylvith conducted private scans during off hours, falsifying records that hid his changing biology. Transformations accelerated. David's strength increased measurably. Reaction time became almost precognitive. He started perceiving things outside normal human range, hearing conversations 3 corridors away, sensing electromagnetic fields, occasionally glimpsing other dimensional frequencies overlaying reality. By the 3rd week, David could no longer hide everything. During physical coordination tests, he accidentally crushed a control grip designed for human strength limits. During vision tests, he read characters on displays not yet activated, seeing through screens to standby information beneath. Other researchers noticed anomalies but attributed them to equipment calibration issues. Sylvith falsified more records, violations mounting, compelled by scientific fascination and growing personal investment. They'd moved beyond professional relationship into something neither could define: partnership, conspiracy, connection forged through shared secret that could destroy them both. David began understanding what the compound actually did. It bridged him partially into dimensional frequencies Sindari science only theoretically understood. He existed simultaneously in normal space and partially in adjacent dimensional layers. Consciousness expanded to perceive reality in impossible ways. Abilities were intoxicating but terrifying. One night, David accidentally phased his hand partially through solid matter while reaching for Sylvith's scanner. They both froze, staring at his fingers existing in impossible superposition. "This is beyond anything we theorized," Sylvith whispered. "You're not just enhanced, you're becoming something physics says shouldn't exist." The secret became harder to maintain when another volunteer, Rachel Kim, started asking questions. She'd noticed David's changes, the way he moved differently, reacted faster. She cornered him. "What happened to you? What aren't you telling us?" David deflected, but Rachel was suspicious. If she reported concerns, investigations would follow. Sylvith and David faced impossible choice: reveal truth while transformation was incomplete and risk him becoming specimen, or maintain deception and potentially expose others to danger. Crisis arrived when David experienced his first involuntary dimensional phase, losing cohesion with normal space for 3 seconds, body flickering partially out of existence before snapping back. Another volunteer witnessed it. Medical emergency was declared. David was rushed to intensive observation, where senior researchers would discover everything. Sylvith made her final decision. Before the senior team arrived, she entered David's isolation chamber and destroyed her falsified records, leaving only accurate documentation of his transformation. She placed her hand against the observation glass. "I should have reported the mistake immediately, should have followed protocol, but I couldn't condemn you to being torn apart for science, and I couldn't ignore the possibility that you represent something extraordinary." David pressed his hand opposite hers, sensing her emotions through dimensional frequencies: fear, wonder, resignation, and something deeper. "What happens now? Now we face consequences together. I'll testify the error was mine, that I chose concealment. They'll strip my medical license, possibly imprison me. But they'll also have to recognize you're not experiment gone wrong. You're proof humanity has potential no species predicted." The senior team arrived, headed by Chief Researcher Malevich. He reviewed evidence, examined David, finally turned to Sylvith with unreadable expression. "You violated every protocol, falsified records, conducted unauthorized experiments, concealed transformative discovery for weeks. By all rights, I should have you prosecuted." Sylvith stood straight, accepting judgment. "You also documented the most significant xenobiological discovery in collective history, preserved unique subject through critical transformation, and demonstrated scientific courage by prioritizing discovery over career safety." He turned to David. "You are no longer test subject. You are first documented case of successful dimensional integration in complex organism. Question is, what do we do with you? David felt dimensional frequencies flowing through him. We figure out what I am, together, not as subject and researchers, but partners. Because if humans can integrate X9, others need to know the risks and possibilities. Carefully, not as weapon, as evolution. Months later, David stood before the Interspecies Medical Council, presenting findings that would reshape xenobiological understanding. Sylvith stood beside him, no longer just his nurse, but research partner, advocate, and something more neither had quite defined. The wrong dose became the right discovery, David concluded. What began as mistake revealed possibility. My transformation isn't tragedy or weapon. It's proof that evolution happens in unexpected moments, often triggered by accidents that become breakthroughs. He glanced at Sylvith, who met his eyes with expression carrying everything they'd shared. No one had to find out immediately, but now everyone needs to know. Humanity's next step isn't just among the stars, it's between the dimensions. And we're just beginning to understand what that means. The galaxy would remember this as the Kepler 7 discovery. The day a nurse's error and a human's transformation